Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm really sorry that it's going to be dark here because everyone else is asleep, so that's
It's fine. It's fine.
fine. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever works. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this is my first time using this platform. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to expect yet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When did you join this?
I think about sometime this week. Was it on Monday or something? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you're a resident debater, resident judge, huh?
Uh-huh. Yes, I've been doing it since May, so it has not been too long, but still like since May.
Okay. Cool, cool. So is this like your startup or something? Are you part of the team which built this?
No, not really. I'm not actually like
Okay.
part of the actual team, but still like now a part of the team.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So the topic is an interesting one. I'll do my best to debate the topic. Not sure how well I'll do. This debate will be audience voted. Is that correct?
Yes, it's, I mean, if in case like you want to actually make it like a competition, and then if you want like to find a winner, you could actually request a judge as well. But I personally don't wish to do so. Like I just want like
Okay.
a
Yep.
friendly debate.
So it's
Yeah.
just for casual
Yes.
purposes. Is
Yes.
that it?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Cool. That works with me. I'm fine with that.
All right.
uh,
Okay. So I guess I'll just move with the motion then. Okay.
okay.
So um, chess should be played at the Olympics. So my major.
Wait.
Uh-huh.
What's the format? What's the format like? What's the time? The time format and everything. Like 4 minutes.
Oh, it's no. I mean, there's a kind of like moderated time I could have actually put down, but I just left I didn't
Uh,
actually put the barrier, so you could just speak as much as you want. I think we should be able to figure out like when. Hmm. I guess we should be able
okay.
to figure
Sorry.
out
Yep.
the, yep, difference. Okay. So all
Okay.
right. Chess should be played at Olympics, and I think for me um the major reason to why I proposed this motion is because chess is as a very strategic game, and it is not just a sport, but I think it has an educational value, or like it has that different kind of like strategic value which is very important to be recognized in the world sport, which is like which Olympics also is a part of. And I think Olympics can play a great role in actually promoting a game like this, which has actually.
Sorry. Could we get? Yeah. Could we just pause for 2 seconds? Yep.
uh
Um. Yeah. Hello. What's up? Yep. Azam boleh tak tolong ambil makan aku kat luar tu? Sorry tu. Thanks. Yeah, sorry, I ordered food. So
uh That's
yeah,
fine.
sorry about that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
As I said, like it's a casual
Okay.
debate.
So you were
Uh-huh.
saying educational value, just as an educational value.
Uh-huh. And which I will actually be explaining you later. Like I'm just stating these things out now. And secondly, it's because like it actually will be benefiting different kind of like it actually will be benefiting poor nations as well. So in this case, the stakeholders is not just the Olympics, but also the countries that will be benefited by this action. And yeah, so I'll just be explaining in my further debate how chess actually fits into the criteria of Olympics as well, and that is why it is very urgent, or maybe that is why it's very necessary for chess to be actually introduced in the Olympics. So before that, I just like to hear your case first. What do you think on it?
Okay, so basically, like a brief introduction on my case, I am opposing the idea that chess should be introduced in the Olympics for a few main reasons, I suppose. I'll get into those reasons more elaborately during the actual when the debate actually starts. But I would say that to me, the chess does not fit the definition of a sport, and hence it shouldn't be played in the Olympics. I'll be arguing
Mm-hmm.
more on that, on why it's not considered a sport. Thanks, Azam. Um, Other than that, we'll see as the debate rolls on. I'll probably rebut a few of your points and arguments.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Um. All right. So when you say chess is not a sport, I'm definitely first defending like that it is actually a sport.
Okay.
But as I said, and I'll actually just move on to those things which I actually mentioned earlier.
Okay.
But still, before that, let me just clarify what a sport would mean. So, sport is an activity that involves physical exertion and skill, in which an individual or team actually compete against another or others. Like, so this is what a sport would mean. So I think there's no
Okay.
reason to why chess actually does not fit in the definition of sport, because it's definitely it's an involvement of skill, and it's an involvement of an individual or team, like, which could actually compete with one another for competition, definitely. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's why I would say, like, it would definitely actually be a sport, and it's competitive, and it's physical as well, and it's like you do have a behavior code that you follow, like, because players are maybe like penalized for poor sportsmanship, and that's how what happens in sport. So you have a behavior code. It is very well established. It has a mental component, and, like, there are so many reasons to why, like, chess is definitely a sport. And yep, which you have a burden to prove. Why is it not? And okay, talking about why chase. um so if you see, everything that requires a physical effort is usually played in Olympic, but it's very important to people to give people chances, like those people who are strategic and unwilling to perform physical work, like, as well. So this is the same thing for the idea of very strategic game. Like, it is actually allowing those people who are not willing to perform physical work as well. Physical work as in, like, maybe there are cases like where maybe people are unable to actually do it, or in those cases, like, people can actually be a part of this strategic game, even, like, in case they are mentally so strong. So that's what happens in this case. And the second thing is that um chess is actually not just a tool, but it actually helps you to increase higher level of thinking skills and advanced reading skills. And not just that, also it actually helps you to build confidence, because if you see, like, it's more complex regarding, like, it's more complex and competitive regarding, if in case we put it on a comparative basis as well. You have to think a lot. You have to, like, every step you take is actually an action, is actually preparation, or maybe a plan to what you do next. So you'll actually start looking ahead. So if like, by all this thing, that what I mean is that it actually chases all about thinking and winning. And now that puts you to, like, more thinking, and that actually puts you to more level of analysis, that actually puts you to more level of mental exercise, which actually puts all this down to a very strategic game. Like, so chess is a very strategic game, and it has an educational value. And that's why it is actually very important that we actually give this kind of thing, or chase or platform in the Olympic itself, because it such a game should actually be recognized in an international platform. And I think, yep, it is actually very necessary in this case. So, yep, I think, I don't know if you'd have to say anything on this. I'm ready to go one by one, instead of, like, putting everything together.
Okay. So basically, are you trying? Is it my turn now? Is it?
Yeah, your turn. Whatever you wanna
Okay.
do.
Okay. So I'll do some rebuttals first
Okay.
before I move on with
Okay.
some of the arguments. So it's interesting that your first argument was that chess should be a sport because there's a lot of individual play, there's a lot of teamwork, a lot of skill, it's competitive.
Mhm.
But you also dropped the word physical. Now, I'm not sure what you mean by physical, but I don't agree that chess is a physical sport at all.
Mhm.
So with traditional sports like volleyball, soccer,
Mhm.
football, cricket,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
These sports really require an actual physical exertion. You're running, you're chasing, you have to build your stamina, you have to take care of your diet. But with chess, it's a very much as a mental game. So the aspect of physicality is not much in chess, right?
Mhm.
That's my first argument or my first rebuttal here. And then you also brought out an interesting point about how it can benefit people who are more physically challenged, maybe people like women or people who are maybe handicapped. So they can look at chess as a sport they can compete in and something that they probably can maybe generate an income or something like that, right? But the thing is, right now I feel like there's a clash between your two initial arguments here. On one hand, you're saying that chess is a physical sport. It fits the definition of being physical. On the other hand, you're also saying that, it's not really physical. And in that sense, it can help people who are physically challenged. So I feel that there's a bit of a clash there, I feel. Maybe you can illustrate further. But moving on, right? You also touched something about the educational value of chess, which is something that not many people can deny. I certainly don't deny. I'm a chess player myself, been playing for 10 years, right? But the thing I feel that you didn't manage to argue, respectfully, of course, just for the purpose of this debate, right? Was that chess is already having an international platform. So you're arguing for an international platform for chess, but the thing is, chess is already an international platform. There is already an avenue for people to play chess internationally. There's the equivalent of a World Cup for chess. There's the Chess Federation, the FIDE is called a Chess Federation. Every single chess player has an international chess rating, right? If you play chess, you have a chess rating. You can look up a person's rating on the internet, no matter which country they are. You can see how good they are at chess because of the chess rating. So all these tools already make chess an international game. There are countries where chess is part of the curriculum, for example. Internationally, people already recognize chess as an educational tool, something which helps students improve their mathematics skills, their thinking skills, and so on. But the question here is, why should chess be introduced in the Olympics? When we talk about the Olympics, it's already a very traditional idea. It's kind of like a system or a community where people have the idea that it's very, very specifically focused for the traditional physical sports. If you want to introduce something just because it has teamwork, just because it improves your critical thinking, then by that logic, there are so many other games other than chess which also boost your critical thinking. It also helps to give opportunity for people who are less able, right? Why stop at chess? You can go to checkers, you can go to all this. The board game market is full with other games which also challenge the brain, right? So essentially, to summarize here, my two main problems is why the Olympics when chess already has a platform on its own? What's the benefit we can gain from putting it into the Olympics, right? And secondly, by that same logic, would you input cyber games into the Olympics, video games into the Olympics? Because by that same logic, they are also having the competitive elements and the other things that you mentioned. Yeah, thank you. Over to you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, just give me a second to figure out. Okay. All right. So, all right. Firstly, I'll be clarifying about the physical thing. So when I mean physical, I should have actually clarified more on this. I definitely agree to this. So the point is that when I say physical, like it actually definitely, if in case you have to sit at a place, like concentrating for for maybe 7 or 6 hours, like, it's a physical task as well. There's no denying that chess is not a physical task, because you should concentrate totally for up to 7 hours, like, so is a stress and tension builds up, like maybe your blood pressure or anything regarding your body actually changes up. So, and even for the world, like contenders for world championship do have nutritionists and fitness coaches. Like that is actually a truth. You could definitely look up into the internet. So even in the world championships of taste or anything, they do have nutritionists and fitness coaches. So I think it also does require a level of attention, a level of physical attention. And there is no denying that there's this is not a physical task. But when I say when I say physical, like it's not too physical, by that I mean that there's not so much involving of your body, as in like going out of it. But even during when you are staying and playing, there's a lot of physical tasks involved in it already. What I actually meant is that there's no going out and then that kind of physical work is not involved. That is what I meant. And now in this case, like those people are I'm not saying that there are no other games for like people who are who are physically disabled or anything. Like there are people also who are unwilling to do the the physical task. I think we should keep an account to those people as well. So because yes, I agree that, maybe for different people, like there are Paralympics and anything else, people those who are disabled, but maybe there are people like who do not want to actually personally be involved in the physical task, and they could actually go through this strategy gameplay to be a part of the Olympics itself, or maybe to be like, a part of the game. um, they know of. And so like, this has two different values, like why actually, like this game will be benefit, like will actually benefit those people as well, because those people who will be playing it, as I said, it is a very strategic game. So it is actually not just helping people to to actually maintain a behavior code, like, as I said, it's a level, it's all about the idea of concentration, it's all about the idea of patience, and it's just, like it does have a very like important value. And as to why you said, you actually told how this already, I mean, the value has already been recognized. And like, there, I mean, yeah, I do agree that people do know the value of chase. But why is it important in Olympics? It is because, like, there are, like, Olympics, as you said, exactly the reason why. So okay, I'm just pushing like all those things together. So as you said, like,
Yeah.
it is like, Olympics do have a traditional value, and I think chase has always been in this race, like, and it's not something that has come up in this, like, in this era, and then it's like, it's not a new sport. It's something that has been, like, played, and that has been actually recognized since years and years. So like, it and like, if so like, it also deserves to be a part of this, like, this traditional arena you are talking about. And Olympics, because like, it has a greater impact, on like people. So like, why you choose, why would you choose to promote anything from the best sport, like best, like, actress in the world, is because, like, that it has more influence on the people. It is because you know that audience will look up to them more. So I personally do not know much about any international tournament. So but Olympics is something I've been, like, I've been knowing of since my childhood. Like, even though I actually didn't watch it, Olympics was always there, like, I knew about it. So, like, what I mean by this is that it is really famous. It does have that kind of value. It has actually already established that value, and that is actually going to help the audience realize the importance of chase more in their lives. Or, like, my whole idea of why I would want chase to be in the Olympics. And the next, okay, I think you should just go forward with this, and then I could, yeah, come up with next points.
Yeah, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think you brought up a good point about how Olympics definitely has a greater influence than a lot of the other international sporting competitions. Um, but me, but the question I have right now is that chess being a very old game, probably older than some sports, right?
Hmm.
It's been around since like the ancient Persian civilization or something like that. But why then do people do is there always an argument about whether chess should be introduced in the Olympics? Do you not think that, I'm not trying to look back into the past, but why is that there is an area for discussion? I think it's because people are not really sure that chess should be put on the same heights as athletics, like running 100 meters
Hmm.
or doing a long jump, right? People are not sure that it should be at
Hmm.
par with these athletes.
Hmm.
Yes, it is correct that chess players and a lot of other mind game players do have nutritionists. They do
Hmm.
have fitness coaches, fitness regimens, training schedules. That is correct. But definitely the entertainment value or the spectator value when you're watching chess is much different from watching sports. When you're watching sports, you actually see a very vigorous and very physical game, whereas for chess, how many of the audience do you think are going to enjoy a 7 hour game of just two people sitting across the board, right? So the concern right now I have is that if chess is put into the Olympics, right,
Hmm.
it's going to open up an avenue for people to say, hey, why stop at chess?
Hmm.
Why shouldn't cyber games be put into the Olympics?
Hmm.
Why shouldn't other mind games be put into the Olympics?
Hmm.
Do you know that there are also international competitions for mind games? There's also an international trivia competition where people come together and answer questions about general knowledge. So all these
Hmm.
other mind games have their own specific platforms because that's what they are. They are mind games, right?
Uh-huh.
In the Olympics right now, can you name a single example of something which is a mind game, exclusively a
Mhm.
mind game? From the
Mhm.
top of my head, I really can't think of any. But I do
Mhm.
know that every single one of these sports, every single game in the world
Mhm.
has an international avenue. So the argument right now that I'm thinking up, I'm having right now is that no one is denying the benefits of chess. No one is denying it, and I don't think many
Mhm.
people can deny it. It's certainly a very
Mhm.
beneficial game,
Mhm.
but it does not deserve to be put on par with athletes who specifically have to undergo proper physical training regimens because they have to do something physically. It's not the same as someone who is having a physical training to do something mentally, right?
Mhm.
Because when you do have a training and a diet for something which is mental, it's
Mhm.
it's more of like a supplement kind of thing. It's not the main goal. Your main exercise is looking at puzzles, looking at specific openings, looking at the middle game. That's your main activity. But with
Mhm.
athletes, their main activity is the physical training itself. Their main activity is going down onto the playground itself. It's not supplementing their activity, it is their activity. So that is why there is a big difference between chess or mind games in general compared to sports.
Mhm.
Um, with regards to the influence, that's essentially what my argument is. If we want to allow chess to be put on the same influence as other sports,
Mhm.
then it's going to make people think that sports really isn't that kind of a big deal,
Mhm.
since everything can now be considered a sport, right? Chess,
Mhm.
board games, quizzes, general knowledge, trivia, things like that. So the awesomeness of traditional sports is kind of lost, kind of eroded when you introduce a mind game into a very
Mhm.
traditionally physical sporting avenue.
Mhm.
That's my take.
Okay.
That's my take on that.
Okay. So when you talk about like there is a much discussed like discussed this is a much discussed thing all about whether or not chess should actually be in the Olympics. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
there have been the one reason why there is a problem on this is because the
Mhm.
people of Olympics are actually worried that like how are you actually going to how are you actually going to um present this like maybe it should to an in like intimate live audience or like broadcast it. So I think these are the areas mainly focused when people are debating whether or not this should be done. But I mean time and again definitely I agree that there have been a much discussed thing on this one. But so there now like in today's time like there have been so many kind of there like, so many kind of like people or maybe directors of interactive designs are actually working on area to actually make it very feasible for the chess to be actually having an intimate live audience, to be like portrayed in a way that like there could be a live audience, and there could be it could be done in such a way that it actually is done in the Olympics. So what I mean by this is that this is the area like where people are actually debating on when they want to include chase or not in the Olympics. But this already has a solution, and I think now people will be like audience will be able to understand understand chase through the with my main idea on this is that there has been a debate on this one, and I think the solution is already upright, and there's no further there's no actually there should be no further discussion on it itself. But before that, I think when you okay, I just got to a point where you I wanted to put a rebuttal for one of your points, but I just lost it. I
No, take your
Where
time.
did I can you just like restate what you talked about? Okay,
Um.
I remember it. Okay, I remember it. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
when you say chase like cannot be put in the value, like put in like in the level of others, I think I do not agree to this. Because as I said, like chase is just any chase is just like any sport. If in case like you see if in case a person does not enjoy chase, like I think they would not even enjoy like other kind of like games, because it's just the same thing. If you see it, it's all about concentration. It's all about understanding your opponent's strengths and weakness. It's all about attack and defense. So like there's nothing that actually puts it back or like puts shows that it's not a sport. So if in case anyone who enjoys these qualities, these factors in a game could actually definitely enjoy chase as well. So there's no denying that this is not a sport, or this is not actually on the level of other games, because whatever component a sport would require, chase has it fully. So Secondly, after
But that's not true. That's not true. Chess doesn't have that physical gaming thing. You don't actually do something. You sit down,
yeah, and
right?
that is itself a physical thing. And to actually be able to sit for 7 or 8 hours and concentrating on something, so it does require a lot of physical effort as well, because you do actually have a lot of physical changes in yourself. And as I said, there are actually fit nutritionists and other fitness fitness trainers for those kind of people as well in international institutions, in international competitions, if you saw up on the internet. And I think like when you say like in terms of mind, when you relate mental thing to the Olympics, like I don't know if you know this, but there are many mental psychologists just to benefit, like just to actually benefit other people, like playing like maybe football or like other games. There are kind of there
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Yes, there are mental psychologists who actually help them to who actually help them to strive through through the tournament itself. So if you see mental like component has always been a part of Olympics. And I think like chess, chess actually plays the best example of mental exercise. So there's no denying that there is no relation of a mental component to chess. And I think the second thing is that poor nations. I wanted to elaborate on this. Poor nations can actually participate if in case chess is introduced in the Olympics. So if you see if in case there are games like football or volleyball, or maybe this kind of games, what happens is that it does require a lot of production cost. When I mean production cost, I mean the setup and everything. They have to fix everything, because it does have to be like a good a good surrounding, is because like Olympics has already has a great value in itself. So what happens is that poor nations cannot contribute to these kind of platforms because it requires them it actually of a higher cost. But what happens in case of chase is that they do require a less production cost, a very less production cost, which means that it will actually allow many different nations to actually participate in the Olympic. Now what will this do is that it will actually increase the value or integrity of Olympic itself, because that is what it was that is what is like what it stands for: determination and friendship and so all this value Olympics actually incorporates is actually fulfilled when those kind of nations also can come up and participate, because now what happens is that it will actually increase a wider level of audience, and it will increase a wider level of audience, and it will actually benefit the Olympics itself, because it has more involvement now. It has more it has wider coverage now, and it actually helps the nation as well, because now they do have a chance to prove themselves, or maybe they do have a chance to chance to show where they are better, where they are better at. And I think not just the nation itself, the individuals are going to benefit it, and the next benefit that comes with it is that the strategy, how it actually has an educational value, which I stated earlier. Yep. Anything else from you?
Yeah. I mean, my issue was really that you're equating regarding the physical aspect, right? Sorry to go round and round about this argument, but
No, that's
you're
fine.
you're equating you're equating sitting down for 7 hours as something as physical as playing football for 90 minutes, which is something I just cannot agree on. Sitting down for 7 hours is never going to be as physical exerting as playing football for 90 minutes, right? Also, when you were talking about how the main concern was about putting up cameras and live streaming the game, yeah, one can certainly imagine that. I think it's already being done currently in the international chess competitions, where they live stream the games at the first few tables. You know how the first few tables are always the ones who are playing well in the tournament. So they live stream that board for the whole audience to see. The thing is, so I think I kind of detected a touch of you saying that it helps in the modern era, because we have a lot of cameras nowadays in the modern era, right? And that helps to make chess more accessible. Whereas in the past, we didn't have all these tools. I would say that's fair enough. But nowadays, if you look at the trend, right, most youngsters, or a lot of hype is going on into cyber games, right? We have things like, what was it, League of Legends and Defense of the Ancients, Dota. So these are the games which people, the youngsters especially, play nowadays. These are also mind games. They also require you to sit down 7 hours straight, right? And also
Mm-hmm.
those athletes who play cyber games also have their
Mm-hmm.
nutritionists. They also have their own homes, and they are sponsored a
Okay.
lot of money. In fact, in one article, it was said that the League of Legends tournament, it was even more coverage, even more budget, even more sponsorship as compared to the World Rugby Championship or something like that. There's a amount of money going into these
Okay.
games. So if you try to argue that chess is now is now can now be integrated into the Olympics because of the availability of technology to live stream the games and so on, then in that case we should probably put cyber games into the Olympics as well, right? I
Okay.
mean, these are things which people
Mhm.
want to see even more compared to chess. Chess is very
Okay.
much the stigma with chess is it's a very nerdy game, it's a very slow game, and it's
Mm-hmm.
certainly quite true. You know, it's a very slow game. As you said, a good chess game takes at least 3-4 hours. You can play those short games, but those are not the classic chess games. Those are called rapid or even blitz chess games. So it's a different story entirely. The classical chess game is hours and hours long. And you have to remember that most of the action is just people thinking, two dudes, or sorry, two men, one woman, or whatever, sitting down and thinking and making one move every 15 minutes, right?
Okay.
Compared to the action
Mhm.
element in cyber games, a lot of characters moving on the screen, a lot of animations, a lot of colorful things to look at. People want to see those things as compared to
Oh,
chess.
okay. So I
So,
have two. Okay,
so
go
those are
ahead.
my yeah yeah. The time is almost up, but those are my two concerns. You equating
Okay.
physically sitting down with running around the pitch, and how can you address the fact that cyber games have more coverage, and they're
Okay.
also pretty much similar to chess. You can almost say cyber games
Okay.
is chess itself. Yeah.
Okay. So first, I think about the physical thing we are actually debating it throughout. Which like so I do agree that chess is not like too physical enough, which I already explained, but it's
You
definitely
did, you
physical.
did, yeah.
Yes, it's definitely
But
physical.
it's
Physical
when
on
you
some
say
level.
it's
Uh-huh.
definitely physical. It's not
Yes.
true.
I
It's
mean,
everything is
it
physical at some level.
if you see like even the evidence that people or maybe international tournaments are hiring like fitness like people or maybe nutritionists for this actually means that it does have some like it does have like some physical like physical association definitely, and that's what I'm proposing. And like there's no
Okay.
measure like when you see the definition of sport, there's no measure how physical it should be. So if it's still physical, it is a sport, and even the dictionary recognizes chess actually is a sport. But before now secondly, moving on to the second question, why not those cyber games? Now I'll tell you why not those cyber games, because now Olympics has a criteria. Now what those criteria are to be fulfilled if in case you want to be a part of Olympics. So I'll just state those criteria first and tell you why cyber games do not fit into those criteria. So history of the sport. So first on the Olympic proposal, like there should be the history of the sport, and the number of affiliated national federations, like and especially the main idea they look into is the history of the sport, like how it has been practiced since ancient time or not. Like as you said, it has a traditional value, right? So I'm just using the same point here. Since it has a traditional value, like it does like it is actually it gives much importance on focusing where the history of the sport started. Like did it like work out from the ancient time, or like when exactly it happened. And so and not just that, like so as I and how or like how if it actually increases the sport, if it actually increases the if it actually represents the Olympic values, like so those are the kind of things they keep into consideration. So like there's like as I said, oh the okay, the cyber games do not have much of a history like than chess. Like if you see, chess is actually played like from the ancient time, and it has an ancient value. So I'll just give you statistics, not exactly in statistics, but something like a report I actually studied. So in the ancient Olympic Games, the element of cultural and mental activity was present, and in the ancient Olympic Games included contests in music, theatre, poetry, and other arts as well. So if you see like in the Olympic Games until the Second World War, there were competitions that were regarded like even with the if even if you say like this is just a mental sport. If you say okay, like if I have a side to that as well. So there were competitions that rewarded the mental efforts of people in the same manner they rewarded the physical effort. This is what happened in the Olympic Games. So today there is the missing element of the intellectual competition, which can be actually reintroduced by the involvement of chess. So if you see the chess, which is actually the traditional value, the ancient like the Olympics, which has a traditional value, and in the ancient Olympic Games, that was actually an element, but like it has actually been going far away from, maybe far, like away from that. So including chess would actually help them to restore the idea of the traditional value that it had before as well. So that will be my next thing. And okay, just a quick thing to. Okay, and as I said, like chess would actually, if in case, like, okay, as I said, in one of those criterias, it is that they look after the sports image on the audience. And what happens is that, let's see, so chess players now make up one of the most largest communities in the world. 605 million adults play chess regularly, maybe a number comparable to regular users of Facebook itself. And like 70% of the adult population has played chess at some point during their lives. And and even if they played as children but left it behind, as they grew up, they still retain a deep admiration for the game. And that's the same with me as well. I haven't played chess in a while. I always loved it. I always like have a deep admiration for it. So that's what I mean, is that it does have like a strong value associated with the people. And chess players, and like any other games, they, in fact, chess players rank significantly higher than any other game or sport for attributes such as intelligence, sophistication, strategy, perfection, complexity. And it's that is why, as I said, it has actually a larger value. And in the US itself, more people play chess than tennis and golf combined. So that is what the statistics of chess is. How popular it is, how much of a value it holds in the audience, and how it has, yeah, it's popular. It actually adds value to the Olympic moment. And even if when you see the institutional matters, it's not much costly to it's not even costly to actually make it play on the platform itself. And so, and the business model, if in case the Olympics sees the business model, how much it will be generating from the sport itself, that's what they consider as well when they are selecting a sport. So if you see, as I said, even poor nations will be included in the Olympics after they do so. By that it means that Olympics will now have a larger audience, larger involvement of countries, which actually itself be will actually level up their finances as well. As to why chess should be, chess it fits in the criteria. So yeah, these are my points. Anything ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to rebut you on the poor nations thing. It is very unclear
Okay.
how exactly competing in chess can actually improve the financial situation of a country, right? I think it's quite obscure, but I'll try to, because
Okay.
the way the Olympic works, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
just to saying,
is that
no, that was not actually my point. Um,
okay?
my point was more about their involvement, more
Yep,
about the
yep.
involvement, more about the
So
wider coverage in the world itself.
okay, okay. But the thing is, with any sport, including the Olympics especially, you have to go through a qualifying phase. So countries actually have to go through the qualifying phases of the tournament to actually compete in the Olympics itself. So with regards to chess being a very low cost tournament, a low cost event, low cost
Mhm.
activity, which will help people to access it easily, will help poor people to access it easily. Um, that does not necessarily translate into more slots available for poorer countries. In fact, especially with chess, most probably people who come from poor social economic backgrounds are going to find it quite difficult to challenge the people who are coming from more wealthier backgrounds, because they have more access to proper coaching, more access to nutritionists and diet plans, like you mentioned yourself, more access to the physical coaching of the game, right? So
Mhm.
simply being a game which is easily accessible to poor people does not necessarily mean that you are able to help the people or to engage them. In fact, chess, I would actually disagree with your point on chess being a very cheap game. Certainly, games like soccer is even cheaper than chess. In soccer, you only need a ball and you can already play. In chess, you at least have a chess set. And don't
Mhm.
you forgot to take into account the cost of a chess clock, which is considerably expensive, even for a society to buy a number of chess clocks that everyone can play is going to require some considerable budget on behalf of the society. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's essentially my argument on that thing. I think I'll just pass it back to you because we are running down on 5 minutes, and you can close the debate and whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. So just moving on to your points. I think it's all right, so I'll just wrap up everything and then give you a chance to do this as well so that like the audience also gets an
No, it's fine.
idea.
It's fine. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
just 5 minutes. You can just close it. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to
So
pass it back to me.
first
Yeah.
okay, so the first thing I actually talked about was okay, first I'll just be talking about what you said right now. So chase being like maybe a locust thing, or this would not actually keep it. I mean, keep it on the favor of being like presented in the Olympics. So if in case I think this the same point you actually brought up, that chase is much debated in the Olympics whether to be brought or not. It also shows that they're people are actually trying to push the value of it. So if in case you are saying that there are certain constraints in chess being played in the Olympics, I think we can also look at the brighter side, which says that there are I mean, there have been like continuous effort for chess to be actually put in the Olympics. If you see, there was a bit there has been continuous in every Olympic, like people have considerable people, like they've been actually putting beads for the chess in the Olympics. So this also shows that there are there is a value on it, which actually people have been trying pushing to actually bring into Olympics. So when you say chess is actually the thing about poor nations, I think as I already stated, it's I mean, maybe any other game, I think chess has a double benefit here. Like if in case you see, like when you actually get or higher recognition, any country, any participation from a country would get a higher recognition if they play in the Olympics. The next thing would be that it would also actually be able to help them grow mentally. That is another strategic thing that I mentioned. And the next thing is that so it comes with a double benefit. And as I said, like that was not the only reason for chess to be included in the Olympics, or that was not the helping poor nations was not the only thing I stated about the business model, how it would actually help the Olympics, how it actually is aiding the value to the Olympic movement, how the institutional matters would not be so much I said there would be cost, but not exceeding to the higher higher cost of so many games. So and the history of the sport, which actually definitely, even in the ancient Olympic games, there was chase, there was arts, theater, and all those things. So if you see all this kind of all these criteria which Olympic requires, is actually chess actually plays a good fit in all of these criteria, which actually proves chess to be presented in the Olympics. And as I said, why necessary in the Olympics? Because as you yourself said, that it has a traditional value. And I think the traditional value, which actually has been trying to trying to sift away from its from the way, I think actually chess will help to restore the entire value as well, which is actually important as to continue the integrity and value of the Olympics in the world itself. And it's, yeah, as I said, it's actually popular, like it fits all those criteria. And I talked about how it is a very strategic game. Um it actually helps people to concentrate more. Actually helps people to develop a behavior code, which is very necessary, which is actually a very important thing in other games as well. And chess is like any other sport. So if you see, if you see the definition of sport in the dictionary, what is actually says is that, okay, I just had it right here. It just says anything that is anything that is played in a happy and lively way. That's how dictionary actually defines chess. So um and even when you actually stated it could not be a physical sport, I defended by saying this isn't, I said this is not too physical enough, but still the definition does not come with how much physical. So it is still physical. And there have been world tournaments that are actually hiring those kind of nutritionists, which actually shows that they do agree that there are physical changes one goes through when throughout this game. So yep, I guess that is all. I really enjoyed the debate. Like, I think you should
Thank
just
you.
keep
Thank
on
you.
debating. You're really good.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the discussion. Yeah, I'll stick around on this site. It's pretty cool site. First wanted to do something like this before.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You should definitely. And welcome to Call Out. I think this is a wonderful
Thank
platform,
you.
and
Thank you very
you just
much. Yeah.
you could just do so much with it. Okay,
Okay.
so
See you around.
have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
You too.